you well today. Went live. So hope you're well today. We're on day 7 of our lockdown. Give you our daily update. Something else to do, isn't it? To break up the monotony of the day. So let's just talk about that. Let's talk about all the days. Just kind of. So 7 days so far, and it's like one giant day. All the days just kind of roll into one, and you kind of lose track of what day it is. You're not sure what week it is, even the month, where you are in the month and the cycle of bills coming in, or I should say bills going out and rents coming in and income coming in. You kind of lose track of where you are a little bit. And so it's really important I check my spreadsheet every single morning to see what's coming in, to see what's supposed to be going out, to make sure that there's no hiccups. And especially as rents are due, of course, rents are always due. Even in COVID-19, your rent is still due. It's not a rent-free holiday. It's a payment deferment as long as you are having issues due to coronavirus, not simply because you don't want to pay your rent. And having to explain that to people on Twitter who think it's a rent-free period, just bizarre. Your bill's still got to get paid. It might be deferred, but your bills are then stacking up. It's not a rent-free period, just as it's not a mortgage-free period or a Empower-free period or anything like that. So everything's kind of rolling into one giant week, day, month, year. We don't know where we're going to be. It's interesting seeing the information that comes out from the UK is still different than the information that we get here. We're going to talk a little bit about that because I've got some thoughts about that. If you've got any comments or questions, then please stick them down below. Just going to grab a quick drink of water. While I do that, if you can just click subscribe or like, I would appreciate that. And also just stick your name in there. Let me know that you're watching, what your name is, where you're from. What's your name? Where you from? Thank you very much. Sound like one of those dodgy cabaret comedians. Where you from? From Nottingham. Oh, lovely place. Let me grab a quick drink. So all the days are just rolling into one effectively. And so we a couple of ideas on that. One is just to have, a sports day, a TV day, a homework day. Not as much homework going on. We're going to talk about homeschooling in this session as well, by the way. But you've got to try and find a way to break up the monotony. It's sunny now outside. And so we were playing a little bit of basketball yesterday. I was shooting a little bit of basketball and I stepped back. I heard this crack, and as I looked down, there was a gecko. I stood on a gecko, and it was gross. It made me really upset. I'm like, just go inside and don't do anything, don't touch anything. But obviously, that's not the right way of doing it. So you need to try and just break up the monotony a little bit. You've got to keep busy as much as you can, and sometimes keeping busy means doing nothing. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but keeping busy just means doing nothing at all, and just Netflix and chill. With young kids, that's much harder to do. I was talking to a friend of mine, and her boys are like 5 and 7, and they were naked wrestling. I have no idea what that's about. So you've got to try and break up the monotony a little bit. Let's talk about homeschooling. So I'm a little bit worried about this in terms of homeschooling. So we've got a 5-year-old. She goes to a private school here, and the private school where my wife works as well. So my wife is having to teach her kids next week. We're on school holidays this week anyway. But next week, everyone's back at school, except we're not going to school. It's homeschooling. So we sat down and we went through the calendar of when wife is teaching and when my daughter is having her lessons. And we basically came up with a schedule so that in the morning, I'm making myself available to be homeschooled myself. On the 5-year-old's lessons, we've sat with her and going through it. And we're going to connect the laptop to a big screen TV. So she can sit at the desk and see it all big screen. So that should be a little bit of fun in these unusual circumstances. And then wife is going to be stood right here with her class, watching just like you're watching now, using the whiteboard if necessary. So we're going to do a try run of that later on today. But it looks like we're going to have homeschooling, and that's going to continue. And the schools are closing today in the UK. That was the right decision, by the way, 3 weeks ago. Today is the right decision as well, but it would have been a better decision 3 weeks ago. And let's talk about pubs right now. Pubs need to be closed 3 weeks ago. Like London is going to have a tsunami of cases in the next couple of weeks. And I see people going out and we're going to the pub and, it's all going to be fine. It's not going to be fine. It's like I know it's like watching a film and like there's a period of disbelief. But if you have a look at the 7 stages of grief, which you're going to have a look at, because if you're not careful, you're going to be going through these 7 stages of grief when people close to you die. I can't get any more kind of like upfront about this. We're self-isolating for a reason. It's not a joke, and it's just not a joke. You need to self-isolate. It's as simple as that. And I'm all right. I'll go to the pub and lick doorknobs. Well, okay, good luck with that. 7 stages of grief: shock and denial. I wonder where we are right now. We're in shock and denial. And then we go to pain and guilt. So those people are still going to the pub, they're going to feel a lot of guilt. And then we're going to feel anger and bargaining. Then we're going to go to depression, reflection and loneliness. And then they hit the upward turn. And it's like, by the way, the 7 stages of grief apply in all areas of life, not just in a loss of a life, loss of a relationship, for example, the loss of your freedom, for example. Should we run through that list again in the context of the loss of freedom? This is what I'm going through. I'll tell you where I'm going through, because 7 days in isolation, I was WhatsApping a friend of mine who lives in China, and they've had 7 weeks of isolation. 7 weeks. And they have got 4 kids and are homeschooled for all 7 weeks. Anyway, in terms of isolation, so shock and denial. Doesn't feel like it's real, feels like it's in a film. There's the denial. Pain and guilt. Not too much guilt, definitely a bit of pain. Anger and bargaining, a bit of bargaining, because you're kind of asking yourself, surely we can just go outside a little bit. But we're not going to do that. And then we're not even near depression and reflection and all that kind of thing. But 7 stages of guilt can come in all sorts of different shapes and can have in relation to anything that you're going through, not just about the death of a person. Let me pull up my list again. Short one today because we've not got a lot to go through. Let's talk about London pubs again. I know, what's his name, dipshit from Wetherspoons, was running Radio 4 this morning on Radio 4's prime time. Why do we give him, a pro-Brexit person, yet more pro-Brexit? If you ever watch Question Time, you'd think the whole country is Brexit, and we're not. But why do we give him all this time to say, yeah, people should self-isolate in my pub? I just don't get it. He's going to be responsible for so many deaths. And people are listening to people on Radio 4. Well, surely he knows what he's doing because he's on Radio 4. People are listening to him and going, yeah, I'll go to a pub. That'll be all right. It's not all right. Stop going to bloody pubs. It just doesn't make sense. Bondi Beach, I saw from yesterday, rammed, absolutely packed. And it's like, you're not telling me that someone on that beach hasn't got coronavirus and they don't know about it, because they have. There are thousands, 10,000 people on that beach. I don't know how many, thousands of people on that beach. There's got to be a couple of people with it that are then spreading it, and then they spread it, and then they spread it. It's just how it works. It just doesn't make any sense. And then I read a story in one of the newspapers where a woman had gone into a restaurant. She ordered her food, and she kept coughing. And she goes, no, don't go near me, don't go near me. And the waitresses are going, what's wrong with you? And she's going, I've got coronavirus. What? Like, the first step, by the way, in that is to phone the police and have her arrested for potential manslaughter. Because these people know that they've got it and they're going into restaurants. It just beggars belief. And when we talk about self-isolating, we're not doing it because you're not capable of looking after yourself. It's because you have dickheads like that walking around thinking it's going to be fine. The health minister with a cough and a high temperature was still meeting and greeting people before she self-isolated. This is the problem that we've got. It's not that you are sensible, it's that everybody else isn't. We say this to people who ride motorbikes. You might be a great motorcyclist, okay? But you're not. Well, they have a problem because I've seen them weaving in and out. It's always somebody else's fault when they come off. Have you noticed? I apologise if you're a responsible cyclist. But it's not the cyclist that's at risk. It's the person who's coming out of the junction who can't see the cyclist because we're changing the cassette on the CD on the stereo. It's other people. This is why we're self-isolating. It's not that I don't trust me and my family. I don't trust other people out there who are coughing along, high temperature. Oh, no. I've had it a week. It's fine. How do you know? I don't know. And I don't trust other people generally. I don't trust the government. I don't trust society. I don't trust people. People generally are quite stupid. And you just you've got to push back away from them. And I know these what's the word? Not decisions. These attitudes that I've got are quite unpopular with people. Oh, that's disgusting. How dare you say people are stupid? People are stupid. Let's just get the elephant in the room out of the way. We know that this is the case. People just don't go into pubs. Have you not seen the news? I just don't. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, click like or subscribe, by the way, if you're watching. Got to get our numbers up a little bit. Let me have a quick drink. If you've got any questions about anything I'm saying, put it in the box down below. And if you can hear me gulping, I do apologise. Where are you watching from and what's it like where you are? So we're here in Spain, we're fairly isolated. We're near the beach, which is nice, but we can't see the beach because we're not allowed to go down to it. But on a night time, can we hear it now? No, we can't hear it. On a night time, sometimes it gets louder for some reason, I don't know why. But we can hear the water hitting the front. It's like, oh, it's quite nice and relaxing. Last night we did the 8 o'clock thing where we go on the balcony and we clap and we applaud and people whistle, people bang pots and things. And it's really nice. It was louder last night than it has been for the other 6 nights. And I think people are more aware of it. But it's nice hearing little pockets of humans again. It's definitely one of the things that's carrying me through. Well, I couldn't really be bothered last night. And I was just like, let's just go inside. But it was nice because it was clear sky and the stars are out and little one's going, look at all the stars. And showed her Venus, which is just up there normally because the sun sets over there. And it's usually the brightest thing in the sky just as it turns to dusk because the sun, as it's going down behind the planet, lights up Venus. And it's like the brightest thing in the sky. And you're like, oh, it's really bright. And it looks like a star, but it's not. And Jupiter as well, by the way. And there's an app called Star Walk, I think it's called. And you put your phone up and it'll point, wherever you point your phone to, it will show you what all the stars are. And it's quite interesting. Something to share with your kids if you're at home. And if it's not overcast and cloudy, if it's clear sky, get your phone, get Star Walk and just have a look. It's fairly interesting. And we've got no questions coming through. Yesterday we had quite a lot. People are just bored of these daily updates, I think, maybe. If you've got a question, let me know. Otherwise, we'll call it. We're going to go live later on today anyway. We've got a live to do about website stuff, so we'll do that. And we'll probably do a Q&A, ask me anything type broadcast. I couldn't think of the word. We're live on everything at the moment. We're live on Periscope, Twitter. We're live on YouTube. We're live in my Facebook group. We're live on my profile, and we're live on my business page as well. A little bit of software that allows us to do that is StreamYard.com. If you want to go live across multiple formats, then that's how you do it. That's how we're doing it too. And I keep looking down because I can see any comments that are coming through, but I can't see any comments just yet. Although sometimes StreamYard doesn't pick them up. But if you've got a question, just pop it in the box down below. Let's talk about supplies. One of the things that we were looking at yesterday, and my wife said to me, is we're short on 2 things, okay? They're both equally as bad, I think. We drink Coca-Cola Zero, so Coke Zero. So we drink that. So we might run out of Coke Zero. And the other thing that we might run out of, it could be life and death, is chocolate. So we've got a bit of a problem. The chocolate stores are going down. We're looking for an online delivery, and all the things are just, there are no online deliveries where we live. Now, I can go to the shops and the supermarket. I'm allowed to do that. I just pick up all the chocolates, scrape it into the basket. That's panic buying, by the way. Don't do that. But yeah, chocolate is an issue. It was Father's Day here in Spain yesterday, so my wonderful wife baked a lemon sponge cake, one of my favourite one of my favourite cakes, lemon sponge cake. Had that with custard. We're down to 2 tins of custard, 3 tins of custard. These are, this is serious stuff we're in right now. We live in Spain, by the way. They don't do custard. You can't go to the shop for custard. The only custard, there is no custard within 100 miles of us other than the stuff that's in our pantry. And we're from Yorkshire, so we have to have custard with our cake. Those in America watching this going, custard? What the hell is custard? That dry stuff? But, I have no idea what custard is. But we're potentially running low on chocolate. I think we've only got a week's worth left. And we don't know how long we're going to be here. And this is part of the problem, is we don't know how long we're going to be here. We're 7 days in. We've definitely got another 8 days to go. So almost halfway through. But should we just have a look at numbers? because the numbers are not looking great still. Let's have a look. And when I say numbers, I mean on new infections and that kind of thing. Worldwide is 248,000 with 10,000 deaths. 88,000 people have recovered, by the way. It's really good. China had 39 new cases. Spain had, it doesn't say how many new, but Spain's got 18,000 cases in total. The UK's got 3,269. But that's a bullshit figure because the UK is not even testing. It's just like the advice from the World Health Organization was that we must test. What does the UK do? We don't do any testing. And Boris comes out and says, "Oh, we're 12 weeks away from getting rid of this thing. Hang on a minute. It's 3 months to get the testing kits. How does that work?" Now, I'm no genius. However, Italy's up to 41,000. Spain's in 4th place. This is a list you don't want to be top of. The UK is like 8 or 9, but that's bullshit. I reckon UK is probably up with Iran and Italy right now. I reckon the UK is really, really high. This tends not to get updated until the afternoon, actually. I guess it's American, and so they're not awake yet. And then when they're awake, they then tally up all the information that they've got. The problem is, if you're not testing for it, how does anybody know if you've got it or not? And how do the governments know what the statistics are? It doesn't make any sense. It's just, I saw somebody trying to justify why they're not testing. We go, oh, no, we don't test like that at this stage. No. We test like we do with flu. So we ask 1 million people who's got it. Well, which million people? Have you asked 1 million people? No. You're talking out your backside. Or we'll ask 100,000 people. Well, if you ask 100,000 people and you ask 100,000 people who haven't got it, then no one's got it. It's just you might be able to do that on flu using annual figures, but you can't do that on a thing that's been up for 2.5 months. It just doesn't make sense. Or 3.5 months we're up to now. Just doesn't make sense. The UK government's response to this is shockingly bad. And I would hope that Boris, after all of this is over, gets arrested for crimes against humanity for what he's doing in terms of incredibly bad advice, not being very specific on what the advice actually is. People still in pubs. What are you doing? Get your asses home. Get back to your family. Look after your family. Oh, I'll be all right. I'm drinking a pint. I'll be fine. Alcohol kills it. Oh, I'll be fine. Do you like my working class northern accent, by the way? It's good, isn't it? So it just doesn't make any sense to me. But look, I've been in isolation for 7 days, so I'm the crazy one. This is one of the things, by the way, for the last 20 years, I used to listen to what everybody else said. And I used to try and think, yeah, they were right. And then what I realized was that most people are idiots. And that actually, if you just take all the little bits and make up your own decision, so don't even listen to me, make up your own decision based on what you actually see. Don't just get your news from Sky or from The Sun or from wherever else you're getting your news from. Get it from Facebook, get it from Twitter, follow different hashtags, check on Instagram, look at Australia, look at Italy, see what's actually going on. And you'll be painted a much different picture than the one that is painted for you by the UK media and the UK government. It's a completely different picture. And so I've said this for the last couple of days, but the UK is in a bubble right now where we're getting all this random advice. I was speaking to people, I'm like, you need to go home and self-isolate. My parents drove me mad yesterday. They were looking for some Calpol for one of my daughters who's in the UK living at home with her mum. And I'm like, my dad's 80. And I'm like, you went out looking for Calpol? I'm like, yeah. Why are you going out looking for Calpol? You need to be home and self-isolate. Well, he needed petrol. Petrol? Why are you going to a petrol station? Well, he needed petrol for his car. What do you need petrol for your car for? You're in self-isolation. You ain't going anywhere. Why do you need it? It just doesn't make sense. We've got a question. Let's answer this one. Okay, how is the situation at the moment, and what do you think about the Netherlands? I love the Netherlands. I know that's not what you're asking. What is the Netherlands numbers like? 2,460 in the Netherlands, 76 deaths, no new cases, total recovered. I've just lost it. In Netherlands, where is it? So if it's 2,460 with 76 deaths, and the UK has got 1,000 more people, but double the amount of deaths. But then the UK figures are way off. because we're just kind of make believe. Belgium's got very close to the Netherlands. Belgium's got 2,300, call it. Netherlands got 2,450. But Belgium have got half the amount of deaths Netherlands have. And I'm really isolated in terms of what's going on in individual countries. You're quite far down, you're below the UK, and you've not got a huge amount of cases. But we're quite isolated. So I know about Spain, we know about Italy. I don't know a lot about Iran in terms of what's going on there. And I know about the UK and the level of stupidity in telling people to go to the pubs. But I'd be interested in knowing what you think about the Netherlands in terms of how they're coping. How is the situation at the moment? So for us here in Spain, just to give you, we've been in isolation for 7 days, and I think this bit's really important. So if I click on Spain, it will show me a graph, I hope. So can I zoom into that graph? Not really. Okay, let me see if I can show you this right here. So this is my phone. It's really bad because of reflections. So that graph, about halfway up that graph right there, about halfway up to March the 10th is at the bottom of the graph. So it's there. That's March the 10th right there. Can you see that? Hope that makes sense. So now we've been in isolation for 7 days. Oh, it's the 20th today, so back to the 13th. And yet the cases have gone from about 5,000 to where we're up to about 18,000 in the last week while we've been in isolation. So if you think about this, the virus is out there right now, people in pubs getting it, okay, and then they go home and infect everybody else. So then after isolation, everyone doesn't go out to pubs, they stay home, but they're still spreading it to other people. So you have to expect it going up, and after another 8 days, it should plateau. That's the plan, as far as I know. Let's have a look. There's a lot of discussion about lockdown or not. People want a lockdown, but the government don't. Yeah, honestly. So if I'm you, I would be locked down. We've been locked down for 7 days, and people are not doing it in the UK. And the problem with that is that it's spreading, and you don't know you've got it. You might have it, and you might not know because you picked it up from somebody else, and they don't know, and they don't know, and they don't know, and they don't know. And suddenly you've got a cluster of 100 people who've got it, who don't know, and spread it to 2.5 people each. I think that's the average spreading rate. That doesn't make sense. And those 2.5 people spread it to another 2.5 people. And those 2.5 people spread it to another 2.5 people. And before you know it, in a week to 10 days, everything's doubled. And the average rate of increase is every 4 days. And that's what's happening because people are not locking down. So then the lockdown, then everyone's got it in the house, or one person might have it in the house, but most households haven't got it. So they're safe, but the people in the house then pass it on to everybody else. Okay, can't do anything about that. Unless they're self-isolating in a room, which if you know you've got it, you need to do that, and hopefully the family haven't got it. Okay, we've decided on which room that's going to be, which is our main bedroom because it's got an ensuite. It's got a TV in there, and if I get it, we're going to move the Xbox up. I'm happy for the next 7 days. And we've got a balcony as well, so there's outdoor space. So we're very fortunate on that. So if you're then self-isolating and everyone's self-isolating, it can only go, for another 7 days, 8 days maybe, and then it'll peak. And then the cases start to drop off. And that's exactly what you started to see in China, because the number of new cases in China is, as a proportion of everybody that's getting it and got it and so on, is vastly slowed down. So China, where are we by country? China yesterday had 39 new cases, and that's out of 81,000 total cases. They've had 3,000 deaths, and they had 3 new deaths. Obviously, that's people who've already had it. So for China, they've plateaued, and the people who are new cases are people in their family unit who also now just getting it because everyone's in one location. I mean, the ideal, less new cases, absolutely. Let me put that on there. So the ideal is to lock down. Now, let's talk about why governments don't want to lock down, because I think this is really important to understand. So one of the things that in our country, Boris Johnson has said is that people need to stop going to pubs. He's said that. But what he hasn't done is shut down pubs. And one of the reasons why he's not done that, I think, is because if he shuts down the pubs can claim on their insurance. If he doesn't shut down the pubs and just tell people not to go to pubs, it's not going to affect the insurance companies. The insurance companies are one of the biggest entities, if you like, that runs the stock market. Because when you pay for your life insurance, your car insurance, your house insurance, your death insurance, etc., life insurance, that money goes into the stock market. Now, if I kind of understand the reasoning for this, but I kind of don't as well, because it's the little guy that gets it every time. But if he said, okay, we're going to close all pubs and bars and restaurants and everything, they all claim off the insurance. Lloyd's, for example, the insurance company, they now have all these massive payouts. The stock market, which is already tumbling, will tumble even further, hit us straight into a recession. So that's really why it's about understanding the flow of money. Again, by the way, in my thing yesterday, I talked about being financially literate. And if you're locking down, it's a great opportunity to become financially literate. And those lessons that you're going to learn from that will stay with you for the rest of your life, by the way. So your job then is to self-isolate as quick as you can. Now, you can tell your parents to self-isolate. They won't listen to you. Oh, no, we're not listening. We'll get our advice from the government. Oh, and the government's going to screw them over. You know, but some people are saying that the government wants old people to die because that solves the pension crisis, and poor people too, and people in poor health. One way of solving the NHS crisis is not to have as many ill people. Brilliant, just wipe them all out with one swoop. Now, do I believe that? I think Boris is too goddamn stupid to even think like that, quite honestly. He's like the Forrest Gump of, and I like Forrest Gump, by the way, but Forrest Gump is too stupid to know he can't do something. That's the lesson I got from Forrest. He's too stupid to know he can't do something, so he just goes and does it. And that's Boris Johnson. He's too stupid to understand anything, the science. Like Donald, he's too stupid to understand that you shouldn't be president, so he becomes president. He's another Forrest Gump-like figure. I know it's probably upsetting a few people, but that's all right. So for me, if I'm you, I'm at home and I'm self-isolating. I'm getting my food lined up. By the way, we had 3 weeks knowing that this was coming, okay? And we stocked up for the last 3 weeks. So we didn't panic buy and we didn't overstock. We didn't overbuy too much. But when we were going to the supermarket, we get an extra pack of toilet roll. We go to the supermarket again, we get another pack of toilet roll. And we get them from different supermarkets. They're all stocked up, loads of stock. Nothing disappeared until lockdown came. And then everybody panic bought. And people are panic buying because they didn't prepare. And a lack of preparedness is what is screwing people over. There's loads of old people going into, and we've seen pictures, hunched over the Zimmer frame, and the shelves are empty. And, you know, these poor people have now got no access to food. It's dreadful what's going on out there. But we have this herd mentality, not herd immunity, because that's bullshit. We have this herd mentality of, if you can see people buying stuff, you better go buy it as well, just in case. Instead of forward planning and making sure that you're going to be safe because you've forward planned. Yes, we're good actually. We're all healthy. Thank you for asking. I hope you're healthy too. We're all healthy, which is really nice. A few sniffles today. Can you hear it? So that's more related to hay fever. We've had 2 days of rain. The sun is out, shining. It's a bit overcast. Yeah, a bit overcast, and so there's, just a high pollen count at the moment. So we're all a little bit sniffly from that. Yeah, the toilet paper thing is insane, and I don't know, people kind of poo-poo, no pun intended, the idea of toilet paper, and it's a virus, it doesn't affect your ass. I get that, right? But it's like, most countries don't have toilet paper. Do you know what I mean? It's a very westernized thing, and here in Spain we're fine because we've got 3 bidets. Bidet, I don't know how you pronounce it, bidet. We've got 3 bidets. I can't even say it. 3 bidets. Have we got 2? We've got 2 bidets here, so we're fine. Do you know what I mean? If we has to come to that, but I get people stocking up on toilet roll. But like Calpol, which is it's paracetamol for kids in a medicine form. You can't get Calpol anywhere. And I saw a shop selling Calpol for £20. People pay that. I saw a shop selling 8 or 10 pack of toilet roll for £10, and it's like, come on, guys. This is not the species that we want to be. Where are we now? So we're in Spain. That came off Facebook, Mohammed. Thank you for the question. We're in Spain. We're about an hour north of Valencia, and we're in a place called Castellón, is how you say it in English. In Spanish, it's Castellón. Double L, you don't pronounce. So Castellón. We were looking at some of the graphs just yesterday on the number of cases in Spain, the number of cases in Valencia, way up there, and then Alicante is way up there as well, and then Castellón, where we live, is like it's not a flat line, but it's going up very, very gradual. So we're fairly isolated here. One of my worries, if we're in the UK, I'm from Leeds, and so if we were in Leeds right now, I would have a number of problems in Leeds. The first one is self-isolating in the house in the UK is different than self-isolating here. So we've got we've got big outside spaces that you can see. We've got a swimming pool, which I'm trying to make blue again. We've got a garden here, and it's warm and sunny. Put you back here. So it's warm and sunny here. Most of it was raining a couple of days ago. So there we go. So it's nice and warm here. But if we're in the UK, it's usually raining, it's usually cold. But getting outside and going for walks is a great idea if you can, as long as you're not going near other people. If you go for a walk here, you're going to get fined, basically. If there's two people walking, you're going to get fined for sure. If you're one person, you need a dog with you, and you can only walk until the dog's done the business. Or you need plastic bags with you, and you're saying that you're going to the supermarket, because they're still open, and pharmacies and that kind of thing. So that's my first issue with the UK, is that it's really cold outside. The second issue is that the British tend not to do as they're told, because we know better. You know, we saw the fat Brits in Benidorm, way, and the police are going, you need to go home, way, we're going, you know, it's the British for you. We're really glad that we're here. And here, you know, we've got houses around us, but there's nobody in these houses, which is really cool for us. So we don't have to worry about people peering over the fence and that kind of thing. So we are very self-isolated. So where we live, we're in a little town, and it's tiny. You know, there's not a lot of things that go on here. We've got a couple of supermarkets, and that's it. But for us, it's fairly well isolated. So the thing that worries me about being in Britain is that the houses are not built for something like this. You know, if there was a zombie apocalypse today, for example, and they're walking up and down the street, they can't get in because we've got fences. Whereas in England, you don't really have front gardens with fences. Or if you do, the gates are open, and you know, if there was a zombie apocalypse in the UK, you'd really struggle to keep zombies out of your garden. Here, it's just life as normal, pool parties, because we've got big fences and things. Whereas in the UK, you haven't got that. We have a much more outdoorsy kind of experience here. Where are you, Mohammed? I think you're UK based, aren't you? I think you're in the mastermind group, actually, if I recall. By the way, if you're not in the mastermind group, the link's down below. And if you could please hit the subscribe button. Where is it? Is it up here somewhere? I know that's my logo right there. I can see that. But I think, is it down here somewhere? It should be a subscribe button. I don't know where it is. It depends what you're on. I'm just looking down to see if there's any other questions, by the way. And I'm happy to go for as long as you guys want. If you've got questions, more than happy to answer them. If you're not stocked up by now, you should be stocked up by now. Don't forget deodorants. Don't forget razor blades. Don't forget bubble bath. Get your chocolate. It's our biggest worry is we might run out of chocolate. We've got a week's worth, and we're here for another week. So you have to time it about right. Oh, you're in Pakistan. Got it. Perfect. What's it like in Pakistan then? So there's this idea that the virus won't survive in warmer temperatures. So I'm interested in knowing what it's like there and what's the temperature like there. I can have a look at the weather, so you don't need to answer that one. Quetta. I never heard of Quetta. Oh, it's a city in Pakistan. Weather. Let's just do that. 19 degrees. So it's not much warmer, actually. 22 degrees tomorrow, where us here, so you're 21 and raining today. That's your highest. Let's see where we are. We're 17 today, so it's slightly warmer than we are. Let's have a look. We've not answered yet. Oh, so I have a look at the virus numbers in Pakistan as well, because that's quite interesting. So look at that. Because one of the things that confused me a little bit was why did Iran have such a high cluster level? So like 18,000 people got it in Iran. I just thought that was really interesting because I couldn't work out why that was. Is there something particular about Iran that, from a travel point of view, maybe? I just don't know. We have lots of tenants, by the way, that come from that area. So we have loads of tenants from Saudi Arabia, loads of tenants from Qatar. They all come into Leeds. We have a lot of IT guys from Pakistan. Iran, I don't think we have any people from Iran, although a couple of people here in Spain from Iran. I love, by the way, like I know we have Brexit in the UK, and which is a very xenophobic thing. But I was doing Spanish lessons, and we have people from Syria, from Iran, from all over the world, Kazakhstan, from Russia, various places in Russia, and they went home for Christmas. And I was like, "What was the temperature?" And they're like, "I don't know. It was like -40." I'm like, "I'm sorry, what? -40? Yeah, it was -40. Like, does that even exist?" Do you know what I mean? But Pakistan's got 456, so it's fairly slow going there. The countries that we've heard of that have got very, very low, let's go right down to the bottom here, because it's quite interesting, not done that before. Somalia's got 1, Nicaragua's got 1, Vatican City's got 1, Nepal's got 1, Greenland's got 2, Bermuda's got 2, Bhutan's got 2, Bahamas got 3, Cayman Islands got 3. It's fairly interesting. If you go down to the bottom of that list, it's quite interesting, I think. Mongolia's got 6. Kyrgyzstan. So embarrassed that I don't know how to pronounce that. Kenya's got 7. Ethiopia's 9. So that's still pretty good, but they're more isolated, these countries, aren't they? They're not like main hubs. When people come into the airport and then they scatter everywhere. And I'm wondering if Iran has a main hub for people that then scatters into all corners of the planet. And I think that's probably why. But that's fairly interesting. If there's no more questions coming through, I think we'll call it there. If you can hit subscribe, you'll get notified next time we go live, which will be tomorrow about 11 o'clock UK time. About the same kind of time, I think. Saturday tomorrow. Not that that makes any difference. All the days are rolling into one. We're live later on today in a mastermind group anyway, because we've got the Mindset and Hustle show. We'll talk about some mindset stuff. Some of that stuff is probably going to help you through self-isolation, if that's where you're up to. Other than that, thank you for joining. Really appreciate each and every one of you asking questions and interacting and engaging. I like that. Thank you so much. And stay safe out there. If you're not self-isolating, please go self-isolate. Even in Pakistan with 500 cases, it's not a lot, but I think yours is still to come, in all honesty. If you've not had it yet, China's ahead of the curve, and it's still increasing, but eventually it'll decrease because we're plateaued. We're another maybe 10 days away from that. The UK is still right at the bottom, and it's got this massive thing to come. Pakistan has not even started yet. Netherlands, by the looks of it, is kind of at the bottom here, but you've got this to go to. It's so bad it's off the top of the screen, but and then it'll plateau out and then it'll go down. So you're like 3 or 4 weeks away from that, depending on what your government does, of course. Anyway, all right, thank you for joining. We'll speak to you later on. Have a good day. Stay safe. Look after each other. Take care. See you.